asleep again.
Are you afraid of the things that go bump in the night? Do you feel like a zombie after a long night of tossing and turning? Well, then try Dream from LifeWise. Just one tab daily before bed will leave you feeling rested and refreshed every morning. That's right, Dream from LifeWise. Just one simple tab placed on your tongue, it dissolves and let you drift into dreamland. Text Moose Dream to 754-600-9473 to get you started with your free samples today.
What's up, horror fans? This is Mark Burnham, Leatherface 2022, only on Netflix, and you're on Moose's Monster Mash.
You're listening to Moose's Monster Mash. Welcome, Horror Hounds, to what should be a very exciting new episode of Moose's Monster Mash. I'm your host, Moose, and today we have multiple guests here to talk about the upcoming movie, Hellsgate the Movie. So please welcome the cast and the people behind said movie, Hellsgate the Movie. I'll let everyone introduce themselves because there's a lot of you.
Yeah.
We starting with myself then?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Age before beauty.
No. All right, we're going that route. Okay. Otis B. Dreds, and I am playing Cult Leader Keith Apleson. I guess we'll get into the characters in a little bit, so I won't give away too much. So let's go, I guess, down here to Lydia.
Well, I'm up, but okay. Hi, I'm Lydia Manson, and I play Kelly in the upcoming film Hellsgate.
Nice.
Go ahead, Laura.
I don't really know how to point.
Ladies first.
I'm Laura Meadows, and I am a sibling to one of the other cast. Well, I play a sibling to one of the other cast members. I am Beth Brown, and my brother.
That would be me. I'm the notorious brother. Not necessarily. I don't think we're twins, but
Yeah, right.
yeah, I've got some issues. I've got some sibling issues that I got to deal with. Leave it at that.
Nice. And I am Doug Perfido, and I am playing Chef Adrian, part of the cult. Nice.
And
there we go.
I am Aaron Hawkins. I am the creator of this craziness called Hellsgate. And I think I play a role in a movie or two, or maybe do a voiceover here or there, or something like that. But yeah, that's it.
So,
Correct.
in this circumstance, Aaron, I guess that kind of makes you the family leader.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it kind of does. Sorry, Keith. It's kind of a scary thing. You don't want to be led by me, man. You would rather be led by Keith, not me.
So, let's start with, where'd the idea for Hellsgate come from?
Woo. About 2 years ago. Actually, it's officially 2 years on the 19th of this month that I quit drinking. And that's where all my mental clarity started, and just went balls to the walls and just start writing this crazy, insane movie. Everyday life inspires me. So it's kind of like, I see something and just start writing. Really can't explain where the ideas come from because it's all up in this crazy ass mind of mine. So, but I can honestly say it started from my sobriety journey, really. That's where it came from.
Looking at this, I know you've put a lot of research and real life into this movie. How much real life overlaps into the movie? Like,
Well,
as far as
I mean,
Easter eggs, inspiration, etc.
I would like to say it overlaps a lot because, if you look at it from a real life standpoint, all of the events I'm going to say in this movie could happen in reality. It really could happen in reality. And that's kind of how I approached it. Yeah, that's some of it might, when you read the script, you might be like, oh, that's far-fetched. Well, look at what ISIS did to some of these poor people overseas. They were beheading people and just offing them in certain and so gruesome ways that the mind is like you really can't comprehend it, but then once you see it, you're like, shit, this is crazy. I can't believe they're doing this kind of thing. So I kind of, in a very, very strange way, saw that and I was like, oh, wait a minute. I can do these scenes better. And then kind of like I'm a huge Terrifier fan. I saw all their movies. I'm like, well, wait a minute, why can't I do kills like that? So, that's kind of where the all the ideas came from. I didn't steal anything from their movies. I just saw it and was like, you know what? Fuck it, let's do it better. Or let's do it a little bit more on a gruesome side or violent side or
That
whatever
idea
the
to
case
push
may
the
be.
boundaries a little bit more and
Yep.
see where people
Mhm.
take it.
Exactly. Yeah, I like pushing boundaries, and I think it's fun. I mean, where else can you go, or what other profession can you be in to where you can say you've actually killed someone on camera and say you
And
got away
aren't
with it?
behind bars. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, not many professions you can say that other than if you're an executioner at a jailhouse or whatever.
That's the beauty, that's the beauty of indie filmmaking. You don't have the restraints of big Hollywood, softening your, creative ideas. You can push the boundaries, and it probably wouldn't shock a lot of indie horror film enthusiasts or whatever. Um, so that's the great thing. You can push them boundaries. You can have insane kills, which Hellsgate does. And you mentioned Terrifier. Yeah, I mean, it's just some of the insane kills, and you can do that. From an indie
Yeah, I think
standpoint.
the indie scene is the only place you can do that because you don't have the ratings board saying, "Oh no, that's too gruesome. You can't you can't show that. People won't want to see that. No, people want to see it, and if they don't want to see it, they just won't watch it."
I think one of the great things about the indie world is it's a harbinger of what's going on with our culture. Art imitates life, right? And if you look at just about every single major culture, has had their issues, had their problems, especially authoritarianism. Teach it holds people in line through fear. Religions do that. I mean, my goodness, the New Testament. It's scary as hell. It's probably the scariest book there is, if you really think about it. But the Chinese, they used to break women's feet because they wanted their feet to be smaller. So these poor women would have broken feet. They're literally walking on their toes, painful every day of their life just because of a little faux pas that they have in their customs, of Vlad the Impaler. How did he uh, have control of his people through fear, and what did he do to his enemies to install that fear so that he doesn't get attacked again? I mean, it goes on and on and on.
It falls right in line with Manson. It was a fear, and it was a mix of fear and love. I mean, some people feared him, others adored him. And if there was ever a case study to like look at somebody to see how you could just control the masses, he's the guy to look at because he had people in the palm of his hand, and it to this day it's bewildering how he was able to control and manipulate so many people without just mostly on charm, really. And now I'm presuming, but this is where somebody like I'd imagine it has something to your character Otis will have something similar in your delivery.
Absolutely. One of the things, in doing my research for Keith, I've watched a lot of cult leaders give sermons, and of course, none of them have the same scenario or background as what Keith does. So of course, you got to change it up a little bit there, but it gave me a lot of different ways to go about it. And honestly, the Charles Manson interviews was a big inspiration. not that, let's just say Keith may not be as all out there as Manson, um, but he does differ in Manson in quite a few ways. One namely, he has more of a violent side, an angry side, versus Manson. I could talk all night about Manson and that old case, so don't get me started. But yeah, there is a lot of that charisma that needs to be portrayed. That saving grace. But here to help you. Give them what they want when they're at their lowest time, and you'll reel them in like, reel them right on in like fish. So that's the approach I'm taking. So yeah, there's a lot of manipulation there under the guise of helping you and getting you back on their feet, and that being through Sprouts Wellness Center. We want to help you grow.
Well, and
Mhm.
even your character is, like an amalgamation of two of the more recent cult leaders who weren't as batshit as Manson, but were as charismatic and controlling. But
Yeah.
they were, I guess, the flip side of the coin, where it was almost more cheerful in their approach. And it's funny because, so like, if you look at, Keith Raniere and Marshall Applewhite, you think cult leaders are a thing of like the 70s and 80s. These guys were going into like the 2000s. Like, this isn't that, we're not that far removed. And that's scary.
Yeah.
From a realistic standpoint, that is scary as hell to think that stuff like that, is still going on. And now that's one. So to take it a step back, when Lydia first mentioned this movie on her last appearance on the podcast, I like keyed into it instantly because I was really excited. And then cult mentality is always going to be there. We could skip 150 years into the future. There's going to be cult mentality.
Mhm.
And so anytime there's a movie focused around, that cult mentality, I'm interested to see where it goes, what path it follows. And I think a lot of viewers are, for the same reasons. It on one side, it helps show the red flags of what not to do. And it also shows how easy it is to fall into that trap. And, and then, like I said, looking into it and looking at, the Easter eggs kind of for your character, Otis, it's, you're realizing, again, just how recent some of these things are. And you're like, oh shit, it really is very prevalent. It's not, oh, this is just something that, happened. Manson is obviously I would say the most popular, and I hate using that word, but the most popular cult leader. But it's still going. It will keep going, and it's very infectious, and it's scary.
It is. Yeah, it is. I mean, there's a huge, true crime. There's a huge, I mean, I've never seen it, explode to where there's entire channels just doing true crime. That just says that its popularity is going through the roof. And I think that cults and everything that you mentioned, Paul, with the mindset and the different characters, same charisma, same playbook. I think that's what intrigues people the most. So I'll hand the mic over so you don't have to listen to my pug.
But Paul, you touched on something though with the two cult leaders you mentioned, because Keith's name, Keith Apleson, was created from those two plus Charles Manson. So like the last part, son, is from Manson. The other ones are from the other two you mentioned. So that's how we actually came up with the character Keith Apleson.
Oh, cool.
Actually, a friend of mine came up with it because she's obsessed with watching true crime and cult stuff, and I'm like, okay. I was like, Keith Apleson, and she goes, here's what it means. I'm like, oh, didn't even think of it.
I would like to jump into as an actor, as a character actor. One of the things that I get excited to play the bad guy is the fact that like my character Ronald Brown, he's been tormented before in his life, and when you get caught up in finding like-minded people that can convince that by having revenge or by these, by creating other disaster, creating other fires, you're in the right. So basically what I'm talking about is like what makes a really good believable bad guy as an actor is knowing and thinking and believing that you are the one who's righteous. Joker was, in his mind, was righteous. Batman was evil.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it just that's when you think of that, you can play off of not, hey, I'm just being an asshole here. I'm just being a dick by murdering these people. You justify it, and when you justify it, it becomes more real, and you can have a more grounded performance. And and that's what even makes it scarier, because it is so real. And that's why in real life, when they interview a lot of these serial killers, they believe they're doing justice. They believe they're doing
100%. Yep,
it's true.
Yeah, it's you can go, you watch like the Bundy tapes or anything. It's they feel like everything they did was 100% in the right. It was the right thing to do. That which is why there's no remorse, there's no anything, and objectively looking at it, it feels cold and disconnected. But in their head, it's normal. And like, I think as viewers, and I think this is what'll draw people to the movie, is that's what makes it fascinating for like us to watch, because it's not something that, and I use this loosely because nobody's normal, the normal person can connect with. Like the normal person can't sit down and say, you know what, that Manson guy, I get it, or Bundy was a great guy. He had some quirks, but at the end of the day, he was a hell of a guy. But as you're watching all of these things, and you're watching true crime, and in essence, the upcoming Hellsgate movie, you're going to be watching it as a part of trying to pick apart why these people do what they do, and trying to solve the human puzzle. And that in and of itself is a fascinating aspect of the human mind. Because on one hand, you have the cults, which is, you have that cult mindset that everyone is aware of, and how do people get into, why do people fall into that trap, and how does the cult leader manipulate so many people? But what a lot of people don't look at is the flip side, and it's causing the rise in true crime and all this. What is causing all of us to want to see what makes that tick? So it's a very interesting dichotomy.
I don't know if I want to talk about it, but we are not all, we are kind of under an influence throughout the movie. All the, I don't know, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so that has something to do with a lot of it.
Yep.
Oh yeah, for sure, because you get somebody, let's just, use Manson as an example. A lot of acid going around, Spawn Ranch.
Yep.
And people are very, very susceptible and easily manipulated. Some would say mind controlled under, the effects of LSD.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right, Doug. That's gonna have that kind of opens the door.
Yep.
And gets them hooked, because once they
Mhm.
get into that frame, and trust me, I've had some times,
Yep.
like luckily there was no
Yeah.
cult leaders or anything around, but
Drug
I get how that becomes a very memorable experience. A lot of us who's ever tried it in the past could probably go through a couple very vividly.
Oh,
And that's what, and if you have these things pumped into your head from a specific person, that's going to influence your thinking. You're
yeah,
going to remember that. And then the next day you take some more and you get back in that zone. Yeah, it has a lot to do
yeah.
with it.
But do you think it's just only weak-minded people that are drawn into these cults or whatever the case may be?
And lonely people.
Lonely people?
Yeah.
Or do you think a strong-minded person could be like, okay, yeah, I want to try this. I want to go to Sprouts and get my relationship back on track with my woman or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be. You think that's possible though?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've talked about the cult leader, but the cult members, yes, we're starting to talk about that now. So, what is the characteristics of the cult members? The being under the influence. We talked about them needing something, possibly wanting to feel like they belong. What else do you think would make somebody just being on hard times?
Being part of a family.
Yeah.
Looking for that sense of belonging. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So these
Just
are
like that's the reason.
lost
Yeah.
sheep trying to find a leader.
Yep.
Yeah.
Being
Exactly.
cast
that's
out by society, ostracized by, society. And then there could always be the just, needing, like I think it was mentioned, fitting in and just getting maybe their life back on track. And that's where they think Sprouts is going to come into play. And this, bigger than life guy, Keith, is going to send them on the right path and tell them how to get back on that right path, what direction to go. So,
And
When
feel-
their critical facilities should step in and say, no, that you shouldn't do that. They go ahead and do it and think, well, if I do this, then I'll get what I want.
yeah.
mhm.
You feel
Yeah.
need, feel valued. You got the leader who needs something from you, so you feel you have some value now in the
That's
world.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
true.
Right?
Like working in an office and having a boss, right? The
Exactly.
boss needs something special from you, but they're not paying you any overtime.
Yeah.
It's the gold
Oh.
star system. Yeah.
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 And without, crapping on people's beliefs, which I try not to do, but essentially cults are religion to the extreme. You go for that sense of following and spiritual guiding, and where religion tends to, for the most part, have that line where most people are like, okay, this is, I know the difference between like real life and this is just guidance. Cult members tend to just kind of blindly jump they take that leap of faith literally, and it's I say this a lot, very interesting to watch, and it's almost pitying to watch that there are so many people that need that much fulfillment or lack that much fulfillment in their life, that this is still happening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very true.
Not enough support systems out there to keep sort of thing from happening.
So with that thought process, would you think that people jumping into acting blindly is kind of like jumping into a cult blindly?
Well, you know what? You can call anything a cult. If you're not a
We'll
sports
find
fan,
out.
if you look at people that are sports fanatics, that could be a cult. I mean, if
That's true.
you call it a cult. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
pretty much how it goes.
I say there's
Yeah.
you can look at almost anything, and yeah, like Doug said, if you don't, looking at it from the outside, if you don't understand it, it could be very
Exactly.
cult-like.
Yeah.
People who don't understand sports fans, oh, that's a cult. People who don't
Yep.
understand,
Mhm.
people who just like devote their life to acting. Oh, they're brainwashed. They're in a cult.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Musicians,
Yeah,
It's
100%.
it's very cult like, and it boils down to like we've discussed on it's our base need to find somewhere we all belong and fitting it and where we belong and fitting in, whether it's we find a group of actors that we all fit in with, or we find a bunch of people to talk sports with, or hell, to borrow from your character, people we cook and talk food with. It's
Sure.
Exactly. Foodies should be a cult.
no, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Comic-Cons. I mean, on the
join you.
outside, Comic-Cons absolutely look like a cult.
Oh, tell me.
Yes. Yes, they
How
do.
about car clubs?
Oh,
Car
yeah.
clubs. There are
Oh,
people that are
yeah.
Chevy people, and they will never get a foreign car. There are people that are Toyota
Mhm.
fans that will never get in a different car. And
Where the cutoff is kind of like I said about religion, is finding that healthy line.
The healthy balance.
Yeah, of this is life and this is obsessive and this controls everything.
Mhm.
well, the sports analogy is a really good analogy, because I've seen people here in Chicago. You've got diehard Cubs fans, and they lose just about every year, and they can make every excuse in the book of why, and it's always the other people. It's either somebody else's fault.
100%.
Yep.
So they will justify, the bad aspects just to say, "Hey, my team is the best."
Yep.
Well, and I'm a Cubs fan. This season ain't starting great at all, but it is what it is, But I mean, I like I said prior, I live in Nebraska. We have the Nebraska Cornhuskers. That's it. We have college football.
Yeah, I mean that's.
There's college football in Nebraska. Like, people think Texas football. No. College football in Nebraska is it. You live and breathe Nebraska Cornhuskers. If Nebraska loses, it's the ref's fault. Nebraska wins, the state wins. You want to talk cult mentality, Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Yeah.
I think that it's important to note that some people listening may be like, "What are you talking about? Just because I'm a diehard sports fan, that don't make me a cult member." But you said mentality,
right?
And that's the thing. It's a cult mentality, even if you don't think it's a cult, because you think cults are just about religious fanatics.
Correct.
And of course, yes, some of them are. Other ones don't have anything to do with religion. Some would call the Manson family a cult. Charlie disagrees with that. There's a lot of differing opinions on that, but regardless, it's the mentality of the cult members, as Laura pointed out. It's that mentality. The cult leader just has to fish it out. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
How, he's got to play the room. He's got to see what he's working with here. Does he have to go real hard into grabbing these people in, or can he just throw out a small bait and they all jump on it? And some will and some won't. So the cult member or the cult leader has to find that, middle ground, but he has to play off the cult members. So I think it's the cult members that really are kind of running the show. They either fall for it or they don't. If they don't fall for it, nobody falls for it, there's no cult.
Yep.
That's true.
That's absolutely true. Yeah. Spot on. Yeah.
Yep.
And then he has to work solo like Dahmer.
Right, then he turns
man.
into a serial killer.
It's the same psychopathy.
It is.
It really is. Yeah.
The difference is, serial killer, you do it yourself. One's a DIY killer, the other one's you have people that can do it for you.
Yep.
Mhm.
Exactly.
The other one, you took it global. Yeah.
You had employees with one, the other one, you're self-employed.
Correct.
Right.
One doesn't have to get his hands dirty at all. Yep.
That's very true. Man, oh,
Or,
man.
you got, of course, Jonestown. There's a
Oh.
very different mindset from, a cult leader. Yeah, that was a cult. I mean, Jim Jones
Mhm.
was rooted in, religion. And he used that knowledge to take and really grab these people and speak to them, and God-fearing people, and he just really roped them in to the point where they didn't go out and kill other people. They ended up taking their own lives because of one man.
Yep.
Yeah.
And yes, he did use force to keep them there, or a lot of strong manipulation tactics. But so there's a different mindset, versus, well, we'll just use Charles Manson. There's very different mindsets going on there. Jim Jones was huge, he had a drug problem and whatnot. Manson just passed them out to his cult members, along with indulging himself.
No, so he didn't have a problem. He had plenty to give.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, so I think that, yeah, it is the members that, these guys got to play off, but there's so many different angles, the Jim Jones angle, the Applewhite angle, with the comet and all that. So many different angles from so many different personalities. And that's why I looked at all of these different personalities of these cult leaders, along with my own personality, to bring about Keith personality. Kind of using a lot, even though there's a strong connection with the Manson family. It's his own thing. He's got a little bit of everything, but maybe
It's
a
like the
little
20
more on the Manson side, huh?
Yeah, it's like the 21st century Manson.
Yep.
Kind of.
Well, now we've heard,
So
what, Otis went through looking into what he was going to do for his character. Jeff and Laura, as presumably cult members, what did you look at, going into portraying the followers? We've talked about what it takes now to become, that mindset of being the follower of the enigmatic, and pragmatic individual. What was it like, as you're looking at the script, finding that headspace for yourselves?
Yeah, well, we can all, especially as actors, we look back at things in our lives that aren't exactly the same, but we've all had our heartbreaks. We've all had, our scares, our close calls, things that have changed us in life. And, I was tormented by an older brother of mine, and it created a fear of claustrophobia, because he used to lock me in closets, lock me in my dad's car, when he was babysitting me or whatever, and I became claustrophobic because of that. It has a lot to build on your psyche. Now, when you're acting, a lot of actors that have had issues in the past, they tend to stay away from those type of movies and genres. But the thing is if you go in that direction, not only are you a better actor because you know how to draw that emotion, but it's actually therapeutic in a way
I
too.
was going to say the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so in this particular case, my brother, and I don't want to give away too much of the plot or anything, but Laura Meadows, who would be playing my sister, that had abused me in the past, or my character in the past, and has finally had some hidden things that his mentor, Otis's character, has brought out. I mean, you know what? It's time to get revenge. It's time to get justice, and it's the right thing to do. I just look back in my own past, it's like, and take my anger in through this character, not in what I would do. And I love my brother to death, but it is a way to take out that frustration from previously in my life to view into this character's eyes, through his eyes, and play it, and just be, and sit with that emotion.
Yep. Sure. Yep.
Yes, and as the sister, I don't want to give away too much of the plot either, but I've been killed so many different ways, so I'm being being punished in yet another way.
Well, you've done a lot of horror movies in the past.
Yeah, I've done a lot
You're
of
signing.
horror movies.
You're going to be signing autographs at HorrorCon.
HorrorCon LA, yes, in September.
Ah,
I'm going to be
That's
there
awesome.
signing autographs and doing selfies with people. That should be great.
Mm.
And Jeff and I have worked together on quite a number of things, rehearsing, auditioning, and actual projects. And I think that each of us can identify somewhat with a cult member, because who of us isn't influenced by the television, by advertising? That's why so much money is spent on us and trying to influence us at all times of the day and night, and all the screens we have in front of us now.
Oh yeah.
So it makes sense that he could be influenced, but he's influenced more than a cult member is influenced more than people normally are when they say, whoa, hold up here. But I'm having this come at me, and I am trying to figure out, how do I derail this? How do I get this to stop? And I do what I can. I am not exactly successful, but don't want to really give much away. But everything has to rush through my head because it's been so long. Whatever his grievance is, I've gone past that in my life and I've forgotten. I'm like, wait a minute, you're talking about what? And when somebody comes at us with something, we've all forgotten things before.
Especially with
And then-
siblings and those close to us that we've, as our life progresses, we tend to forget what we deem the little things in other people's lives.
Yeah, what we
That
think
is
is
true.
a small thing could be a huge thing for somebody else, but we've completely forgotten about it.
Oh.
And then they remind us, and we're like, wait, I don't know what you're talking about. What? And then maybe it starts to come back, and before you know it, and what it actually meant to that person, it's too late to really discuss it any further. So that's what I would have to say about that. But we'll hash it out when the time comes.
Yep. Yes, you will. Someone will get a come to Jesus moment.
Yeah, really.
I have a feeling.
Yeah. The
But
funny
yeah.
thing, the biggest cult leader in the history of our planet is called social media, but yet nobody's going to talk about that. Have you ever seen kids follow anybody like they follow social media? No,
Say it for the people in the back, brother.
I'm telling you. Yep, we
Yeah,
just ignore it
true.
and let it happen.
You just take it and you huck to it.
Yep.
Everybody knows what that means now because of social media.
That's my point. It's insane. I feel really bad for the youth. I really do.
Oh, I do too. I wouldn't want to grow up now.
No, not at all.
Somebody's
No.
growing up now saying, I love growing up now. Okay, I'm sure you do.
Like,
but-
good for you, but
I
not
have nothing
me.
to compare it to.
Myself,
It's all
I'm-
the Gen Xers, older that are like, man, no.
They look these kids love growing up now, but boy, I loved growing up in the mid 70s into the 80s.
Me too.
Ditto.
That was great.
See, my kids hate it when I talk about it, but so I have 3 kids. 2 of them are like constantly attached to their screens, and my middle daughter maybe spends like a couple hours a day on her screen. Of the 3, and this is inadvertently became a pretty interesting social experiment. She is the most well-adjusted of the 3 of my kids, and the other 2 don't seem to understand it.
Yep.
She's into music, she's into acting, she likes to go out and do things. The other 2 are very much into video games and like doom scrolling Facebook and TikTok, and I'm guilty of it too, but
Sure.
it's addictive. But just watching these 3 kids that grew up together, and one of them basically decided, I'm not going to spend my life on a screen.
Good.
And seeing, her grades are better, her social life is better. It's, it very much is that, she decided not to follow the cult.
Mm-hmm.
It's refreshing to watch, in real time,
Yeah.
and, You know, you hear about it all the time, but when you actually get to just watch it happen, you're like, all right, this is cool. And you get to really see, no, growing up now sucks.
It's ridiculous. They have no clue what they're missing.
Yeah.
No clue.
No.
Hey, what about Chef Adrian? What did Chef Adrian have to do to
I was just going to
get the
ask,
character?
Doug, when you got your stuff, what'd you have to do?
It's funny because I originally I was actually asked to audition for 2 roles, and I actually liked the chef role because it was a bigger role, but it was very, very intense, and I really, I don't know, I felt it a lot more. But I gave both auditions, and thankfully Aaron, he liked the chef one, I guess, the best. That worked out well.
I did.
But yeah, it's there's really not much I can say except, he's pretty stable guy. I mean, he's feeding the troops, so you think he's kind of, got it together. He's married, so I guess he's kind of like the foundation in a way. But then again, he's part of a cult, so really, how stable am I? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you really think about it, within that environment, I feel like I got it together. But we soon find out what really happens. Yep. Stay tuned.
We're gonna say goodbye to Jeff and Laura really quick, and be more than happy to have you both back on whenever you want. You have a standing invitation. It's a pleasure meeting and talking to both of you.
Likewise, definitely.
Oh, yes.
You guys you're gonna promote anything you have going on?
I guess we've got the film that will be coming out. It's called Cowboy and Indian later on. Laura and I are in too. She's got a much bigger role. I come in. I play a priest. You want to talk about scary?
Fabulous job. There are no small roles.
Jeff, a priest?
And
What?
Right.
you can go to my Facebook. Well, my Facebook page is pretty full. I have a fan page, and my Instagram is Laura_A_Meadows, as it sounds, MEADOWS. So please follow me there, and I'll be at HorrorCon in September, HorrorCon Los Angeles.
All right.
So thank you so much, guys. And I can't wait to meet with you guys again. And me and my brother have to have another meeting to go to.
All right.
Yes. Have a good one, you two.
Good to meet you,
Good
Otis.
seeing you too.
Yeah, it's a
Doug,
pleasure to meet
Aaron,
you
thank you.
guys.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good one. My question to Chef Adrian is, can Chef Adrian actually boil water in real life? Can he really cook?
Chef Adrian just bought a large pie. I just bought a large pizza with half meatball. That should last me till tomorrow around lunchtime.
Oh, okay.
That wouldn't last me the night.
So I need,
Yeah, I know.
no,
But yeah,
no.
actually, it's funny. My dad, who's now 80, he is a phenomenal. He's an old Italian, so he's. I would rather eat home than go to a restaurant. That's how good he can cook. Yeah. Jeez. And my mother owned a bunch of restaurants growing up out on Long Island, and so I have a lot of experience around it too. Not an easy business. I'm not gonna lie. Not something I wanted to be a part of. In real life. I mean, that's a that's a tough business. And
You say it's not an easy business, but here you are in the entertainment business.
I know
That's not easy either.
I know. True. You got that right. But I tell you, long hours. Woo. Yeah, we do long hours on sets, but these chefs, they don't get a break. It's 365. And
especially when you own your own place.
Yeah. And you think you have off because it's a holiday, but no, that's when they work.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I say for years I wanted my own place, and then it was like, no. I'll just cook for fun.
Yeah, it's man, it's rough.
Yeah, absolutely. Same way, man. Shoot.
And I think we're gonna have a Hellsgate table in Atlantic City on May 17th and 18th at New Jersey HorrorCon at the Showboat Hotel.
You guys are really getting this out there.
Yeah, that's gonna be big. Yep, that's a big deal.
I'm working out details to get out there. If I can do it, I'm working on it right now. I'm probably going to be driving out there. I am not flying.
Yeah.
Nope. I'll take my life in my hand.
That's another thing I really like about the indie scene is it's not easier to get eyes on the product, but it's easier to target the right people to get eyes on the product. You run the convention circuit, you run You put it in front of the right people. You're not,
Yep.
Okay, let's just use Disney because it's the biggest damn media company. They run the ads, they run everything. Everybody sees the ads. Half of it's a waste. Nobody's going to watch the damn movie. Indie horror film. Who do you want to watch the movie? Horror fans.
Yep.
So who do you need to get it in front of? Fucking horror fans.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
that's true.
So you take it to conventions, they start watching it, word of mouth picks up, and then it becomes a hit. The convention scene has made indie filmmaking phenomenal.
It's incredible. And let me tell you how knowledgeable all those fans are. I mean, they know everything.
Yes,
I mean,
they do.
I'm friends with the Levies who made, Terrifier and Stream. I was in Stream as well. But I remember just saying to myself, wow, this might actually blow up one day. And then, a year or two later, look where they are now. Now they're Hollywood,
Yeah.
Just like that. Yep. Word of mouth. That was it.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. You nailed it, Doug. Networking, you never know. Network inside, the genre that is your target audience, like you mentioned, Paul. I mean, you're not really going to go after people who, love romantic comedies to try and sell them Hellsgate, Probably
No,
not going to work.
I mean, you could,
maybe
it wouldn't
1 out of
work, but
10 like both, but I don't know.
Yeah.
This is not your mom's Lifetime movie.
No, this is not a Lifetime Christmas movie, people.
You ain't going to see this on the Hallmark Channel.
No, this is not the 40-year-old virgin.
That's fun.
I mean,
It's fun.
I mean, I might be, but
I actually did a Hallmark Christmas movie years back, and like 3-4 years ago. And while I'm on set, I might have had the Terrifier hat on in between takes or something, but one of the producers came over and said, "Oh my God, my kid loves that movie," and da 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 da. And before I know it, the half of the crew is talking about Terrifier. I mean, just
That's great.
on a Hallmark movie. Yeah. A Christmas.
You were a positive influence.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
it worries me
you're
anytime
absolutely right.
someone comes up and says my kid is a fan of Terrifier, because the next question out of my mouth is, how old is your kid?
Yeah, really.
Because
Yeah.
as a horror fan, I am all for kids getting into horror and watching horror movies, but Terrifier has to be either an age range or a maturity level before you sit down to watch that movie, because that one will fuck you
I
up.
agree. Yeah.
And 17, ain't it? Or is it non-rated? It's unrated, right?
Yeah, it's unrated.
No, none of them are rated. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
And
because,
I love every single one of them, but I mean, I still won't let my daughter watch Devil's Rejects because there are parts of the movie I don't want to talk about. I don't want to have that discussion just yet, because I don't think she's ready to have that talk about a few of those scenes, but she'll watch just about every other horror movie with me.
Well, then you don't want to have her watch the movie A Serbian Film, then.
Oh, no.
Right.
Don't want that, because you will be talking to your daughter until she gets married about that movie.
You'll stop
I'm sure
talking.
you've all
You'll
seen it.
stop talking to her and probably just pay for the therapy.
Yeah.
She didn't watch Human Centipede with me, so
I haven't even brought myself to watch that.
Oh, you gotta watch it. That's all right. Robert Lasar.
Human Centipede for me was I had to watch it twice. The first time, once you get past the initial just what the crap, literally. You watch it the second time, you can kind of appreciate the filmography and everything behind it, but you have to kind of get over the initial shock value of the film first before you can actually enjoy the movie for what it is.
Yeah.
Peeling back the layers of an
Yeah.
onion, Let's get past this. Yeah.
Oh man. And the guy, one of our leads, Rob, is in Human Centipede 2, right? Isn't Robert Lasardo, I think, in part 1 or 2? I'm not sure.
I believe he is. I can't remember
I
what
think so.
part. Yeah.
Yeah, he is in one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty
Might
cool.
be 2.
I think it's
He's Yeah, he's done all kinds of work, man. My mom remembers him from General Hospital. I'm like,
Wow,
uh,
really?
wow.
Yeah. I mean, Alpha Justice, Steven Seagal,
Mhm.
and every prison, anything with a prison involved.
Yeah, right. Yeah, or gang.
Yeah,
Yeah. Drug dealer. I've seen him on CSI.
there you go.
Talk
That's
about
where I always
typecast.
recognize.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Yep, 100%.
And speaking of casting, so Aaron, when you set out to, cast people in these roles, what were you looking for each? Like, so Keith, what were you looking for when you were casting your cult leader?
When I was casting Keith, I was looking for someone that, well, you see Otis.
Yeah.
I was looking for someone like that that kind of looked like Charles Manson, but didn't, kind of thing. And I swear to God, man, when I put a picture of Manson next to Otis's, I'm like, dude, they could be brothers.
Yep.
But the only difference is Otis has dreads and Manson doesn't. And Manson had a swastika on his forehead and Otis doesn't.
I
So that's
do
what I was
have a
looking for. And also,
scar.
yes. And not to mention, I was also looking because like cult leaders, they're charismatic. They got to be convincing and that sort of thing. And I was like, well, I know he can do it. So, and that's what I was looking for with Keith. Same. I would like to say the same thing goes for all the rest of the roles, that kind of thing. With the audition process, obviously you had to do well, otherwise, you're not going to get cast, kind of thing. And I also wanted the cast to be diverse, meaning I didn't want like it being like so many of one demographic of people. I like it being a little diverse, like split up and having, black, white, Asians, whatever, because I like working with everybody. I mean, we even had a trans woman audition for us in Chicago. I'm not against that at all. There's a concert scene that the lead singer, he's gay. Okay, you know, I like to try and keep it all inclusive and stuff like that. Give everybody a chance. Like Paul, if you were to audition, cool, you get the role. Guess what? You might die. You might not die. Who knows? But yeah, that's what I was going with Keith. With Doug, Lydia sold me on Doug. And the audition he did for the chef, I thought was a lot better than the other one, and I just felt like he fit the role better for this one. No offense to what you did, Doug. You both of them were good, but I preferred that one over the other
Yeah,
Well,
the other one.
and honestly, I mean, he's Italian. What better
Right.
person to have
As
as
Forget
a
about
chef?
it.
That's one of my
Right?
favorite
It's
foods. is
definitely believable.
Italian.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly. I mean, for God's sake.
So when I saw the casting announcements, I saw Otis was announced as the cult leader, and watching Otis on your podcast and things. One of the things that you do naturally that I hope you really get to bring to the character is you have a tendency to be really soft spoken, where people have to really lean in to hear what you're saying, and I think in a role like that would carry a lot of weight, because they have to really focus, and just you have them just right there, and it's so natural for you, and
I don't even notice that I do it.
No, right, yeah, it's it's just who you are. You just have this like soft spoken demeanor about you, and so people kind of have to like lean in and focus a little bit more on what you're saying, and
a perfect tone to the voice. Perfect tone.
Yes. So when you're, delivering speeches or, telling people what to do, it's that difference between, go forth and multiply, or, hey, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go and, do, et cetera, and you really have them, basically, you have them by the balls, and you have their undivided attention, and they're not going to misinterpret or ignore what you say. And I think that will carry over phenomenally.
Well, I appreciate the observation. I don't notice that I do it, but I'm sure there's a lot of things about us that we don't notice we do. And other people's like, why the fuck does he do that? But no, that's like I said, I didn't notice it, but I'm definitely gonna keep that in mind. And have that come through because you make a great point. If at times I am a little soft spoken, then yeah, people have to get in and kind of focus on what I'm saying, and yeah, uh, have them by the balls. So that's great to know. So I appreciate the observation.
I say when you have time, just go back, watch some of your old podcast
Okay.
episodes, and you'll see it. You slip into this very just kind of like soft spoken run, and like even just across the computer, like you can have the volume all the way up, and you're still just okay. All right, I got it.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to watch.
and
Yeah, it's
you're
going to be
absolutely
fun
right.
to play for sure.
Yeah.
Aaron's sitting
And
over
then-
here like a diabolical mastermind.
Right? He is. Man.
So before we wrap this
Speaking
all
of
up,
cast,
go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. No, I was just, and speaking of casting, kind of my sidekick, I guess, being
Mm.
Savette Holder, playing the FBI agent, Agent Tate.
Yep.
Talk about Easter.
So there's an Easter egg.
There's a lot of
They probably
Easter
shouldn't
eggs
have
in
gave
this
that one
movie.
away, but that was obvious. So
No, that's awesome, dude.
yeah.
Nice.
There's a lot of Easter eggs in this movie.
Yep.
A lot. Yep. No doubt about it, man. It's good
Yeah.
shit.
So you're currently running the Indiegogo campaign.
Yes, we are.
What's your goal?
We are. Our Indiegogo campaign goal is set at 10. I mean, we're going to need a lot more than that, obviously. But
yeah.
I mean, we're set at 10, and we're sitting at 54% of our goal, which equates to $5,483 out of $10,000 raised so far. And I would say over $1,000 of that came in yesterday after, I forget his name, but it's posted all over
Mark.
the media's. Who?
Mark Manza.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. He's the one that actually threw in a big chunk, but it was tied to a promotional video that was out there and is still out there. I think earlier today, Lydia told me it had over 10,000 views. I'm like, keep it going. Let's do this,
Damn.
man. So yeah.
Well,
So
let me tell you a little story about that I don't even think you know.
probably not.
Because Lydia had messaged me, Doug, who's this guy? Does he own the brewery on Long Island? All right, so what happened was a few months back, I did a meet and greet with John Abrahams, who you know from Meet the Parents and Scary Movie, and et cetera, et cetera. We did a meet and greet at a brewery called Necromantic Brewery. It's a horror-themed brewery on Long Island in Farmingdale. And we had a table set up, and, they have their loyal, customers. So as soon as we were ready to meet and greet, first guy that showed up was that guy Mark, and he bought everything I had. I mean, this is the first person of the night.
Damn.
He was literally the first guy to walk up. He bought everything I had. I had some magazines and stuff and some flyers like this, and I gave him a bunch of Hellsgate flyers, signed everything for him. Then he bought so much stuff from Johnny, I can't even tell you. I mean, the guy was amazing. So that's pretty much where he got the knowledge of the Hellsgate. And then I guess he saw the video as well. And and the rest is history. Yeah. Yep.
You're absolutely right. The rest is history. Yeah, I am going to be on. It's my goal to get out there for Atlantic City. If I have to start walking now, I'll make it there by May. I'm getting out there one way or the fucking other. There's no two ways about it. I have to. There's just no way.
That's how you do it. It really. I know every single person, from vendors to the volunteers to the celebrities I literally know everyone, and as well as the fans. I know every single fan, and they all want more of these. I hand them out, they're gone. All the stickers that Lydia gave me are gone, in an hour. It's that's the way to do it. I know it sounds old school, like knocking on doors, but guess what? It works.
To say it works,
Hey,
it's that face-to-face
grassroots
contact.
filmmaking, man.
Yeah.
No, it goes back to what I said earlier. It's getting it in front of the right people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly right. 100%. It's just,
especially horror cons. I mean, we all go because we like horror. We're not there because we want to see, Disney on Ice.
Yeah.
Wait, you're not?
I mean, who knows? Maybe a little Anna and Elsa doing, pirouettes, but.
No, it's so true. It really is.
So before we put this to bed, if you guys have anything to promote or, want to tell people where to find you on social media.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you can find me on Instagram as Doug_NU_York, Doug New York. And then on Facebook, just Doug Perfido, my name. So beside Hellsgate, in June, I got Otis and Lydia and myself are going to be filming a movie called Fairfield County 4, which is a found footage werewolf flick, which should be really good. I've worked with those people before. They're really, really good, great people. Then I have a movie coming out, filming in September in Kentucky called The Desperate. And as far as things that are going on now, on Apple TV, a TV series called Dope Thief that I was a part of, it's a Ridley Scott production. So Ridley Scott, Brian Tyree Henry, Ving Rhames. I mean, we filmed it like 3 years ago, and I believe it's the #1 show on television right now. It's on Apple TV. It's called Dope Thief. That's great. And then this summer, I did a little thing on Happy Gilmore Part 2, which should be coming out, I think, July. So that's some things to look forward to.
You're all over the place.
Yeah. And then I got other things I didn't even mention. Yeah.
No, I guess it's my turn. I got, as Doug mentioned, Fairfield County 4 coming up in June. Of course, Hellsgate, I think, is scheduled for around August-ish. And then possibly later on in the year, I have another project called A Toy Maker, which is actually their Indiegogo is in pre-launch now, so you can sign up for that. And while we're at it, the Fairfield County 4 is also going with their last phase into their final goal right now over there. Projects other than that, I don't think I have anything going on. The year's pretty much full for me. I got to try and hold down a job in between all of these, but I'm on Facebook, Instagram, as just Otis B Dreds. No A in the Dreds.
Man, you guys are busy too. Man, it seems like we all need 48 hours in a day to get what done we need to get done.
Yeah.
You can find me on Facebook, Aaron L. Hawkins. You can find me on Instagram, The Aaron Hawkins. You can find Hellsgate the Movie on Instagram, Facebook. I think that's all that we're on as well. Projects are coming up besides Hellsgate. I have a lot. I have at least 3 horror scripts that are in completion. They're in like a completed status. 2 of which I can name called The Pulse, and one's called Doomsday. That's a post-apocalyptic style horror film. And then I am in development of another horror film that kind of ties John Wayne Gacy and a Jeffrey Dahmer to it. And this idea came to me from Lydia Manson. She created a QR code for our campaign. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. There's a horror film in that QR code. So I just started developing it.
Wow.
So I keep busy with doing that. I have a movie out on, it's like 21 different platforms. The top platform it's on is called Tubi, obviously. Name of the movie is called Evil Lurks. It is a art house style horror film. It's about an hour and 45 minutes of a mind fuck. And I do have a few Blu-rays and DVDs that are individually numbered left. I only have 50 that I made, and it comes with a Blu-ray DVD. behind the scenes photos and some deleted scenes. So yeah,
Nice.
what's going on? Yeah, staying busy.
Listeners, you can find me and other great podcasters over at electronicmediacollective.com. Be sure to follow me on Facebook at Moose's Monster Mash and on YouTube at Moose Media Inc. I will list that volley of links in the episode description. Be sure to go support the Indiegogos that were mentioned. Watch out for all the upcoming projects. It's going to be a hell of a couple years, guys.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, it is.
Definitely.
And
Absolutely right.
this has been as entertaining as I figured it was going to be.
Yep. Great.
Standing invitation for everyone to come back. Thank you all for coming on.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
And you're absolutely welcome. And yeah, with the list of projects, I'm sure we will be doing this again. And until next time, Horror Hounds, mash on.
Peace.
This has been Moose's Monster Mash. Come back for more chills and thrills if you dare.